Welcome to Lesson 9 of ISO 9001-2015 Clause 7 support. Do you know that most ISO 9001 failures have nothing to do with poor planning or bad process? You could have the best team, latest technology, and perfectly written procedures, and still fail to achieve your intended results of quality management system. So what is the problem? The issue is not what you are doing. Instead, it is how you are supporting what you are doing. Clause 7 support, the most overlooked yet essential part of ISO 9001-2015. In this lesson, I will explain why effective support is the hidden driver behind consistent quality, performance, and improvement of quality management system. Just stay tuned until the end of this lesson. And if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get updates. Thank you. In the previous lesson, we have discussed clause 6, planning. Under planning, there are three subclauses. The first one is actions to address risks and opportunities. The organization must first identify risks and opportunities, then properly address those identified risks and opportunities. The second subclause is quality objectives and planning to achieve them. Based on the quality policy, organization must set smart quality objectives followed by the plan how to achieve those quality objectives. The third subclause is planning of changes. Every change in the organization should be managed properly. Otherwise, uncontrolled organizational change may lead to process disruptions, non-conformities, increased risks, employee confusion, and ultimately reduced quality and customer satisfaction. If you want to know more about this particular lesson, please check the link in the description box below. In today's lesson, I will discuss Clause 7 support. Clause 7 support has 5 subclauses, which are resources, competency, awareness, communication, and documented information. Let us see one by one, starting from the first subclause, that is resources. To run an effective quality management system, your organization must ensure that sufficient resources are available at the required time without any delay. This subclause is further divided into the following specific requirements. The first one is general, that is providing the right resources. It is a must to provide the right resource. By the right resource, we mean that suitable resource, adequate resource, and appropriate resources to achieve intended results of quality management system. The organization must first identify and provide all necessary resources, meaning the organization determine all the required resources and provide those resources to establish, implement, maintain, and continuously improve the quality management system. While doing this, the organization should consider the following two issues. The first one is what internal resources, that is people, tools, facility, etc. are available within the organization, and their capabilities or limitations should be identified. After identifying the resource gaps within the organization should then consider the second alternative, that is what additional resources are needed from external providers, for example, consultants, equipment suppliers, and contractors. The second specific requirement of this subclause is people. Among all resources, people is the most important resources. Providing the right personnel is a must to achieve the intended results of quality management system. In doing this, the organization must first determine and provide the right people who are capable of implementing the QMS effectively. At the same time, they have to be responsible for operating and controlling the process efficiently. In short, the organization must ensure the availability of competent personnel either from internal or external sources, because having the right people is necessary to build, run, and improve QMS. Otherwise, QMS cannot succeed at all. The third specific requirement under resource is infrastructure. Here, your organization should first identify the necessary infrastructure, then provide this infrastructure and maintain this infrastructure to ensure effective performance and provide products or services which can meet the requirements. According to ISO 9001, infrastructure can refer to buildings and utilities, for example, office, warehouse, electricity, and water, equipment, including both hardware and software, transportation resources, for example, delivery vans and service vehicles, information and communication technology, which consists of networks, database, and phones. The fourth specific requirement under resources environment, that is the working environment for operation of the process. The organization must first identify the required or the right environment, then establish and maintain this environment to make sure that process can function properly and consistently to deliver products and services that meet specified requirements. What's a suitable or right environment mean? A suitable environment can include a mix of human and physical factors such as psychological environment, focusing on creating a low stress, burnout preventive, and emotionally safe workplace. Social environment fostering a respectful, non discriminatory, calm, and non confrontational workplace culture. Physical environment ensuring proper temperature, lighting, humidity, hygiene, airflow, and noise control for comfortable and safe working conditions. The important point here is that the ideal work environment varies by the industry type. For example, a hotel, hospital, or a factory will each have different environmental requirements due to the nature of their operations. The fifth specific requirement under resource is monitoring and measuring resources. As a general requirement, monitoring and measuring is very essential in an organization to ensure that monitoring and measurement deliver valid and reliable results. The organization must first determine and provide the necessary resources. These resources are used to verify that products and services meet defined requirements. Second, the organization must ensure that provided resources are suitable for specific type of monitoring or measurement being carried out. And the organization must ensure that provided resources are maintained so they continue to perform as intended. Third, the organization must document evidence, meaning the organization must retain appropriate documented information to prove or verify that monitoring and measuring resources are fit for their purpose. Those tools must be well maintained or regular checking and correcting is necessary. Besides, you need evidence that such tools are reliable to ensure quality checks are accurate and trustworthy. The other requirement under monitoring and measuring resource is measurement traceability. When measurement traceability is required or when it is essential to ensure confidence in measurement results, the organization must ensure the following. The first one is the organization must ensure measuring equipment is calibrated or verified or both calibrated and verified at a defined interval of time or before every use against standards traceable to national or international measurement standards. And if such standards do not exist, the basis for calibration or verification must be documented. And the second is organization must ensure equipment is clearly identified to show its calibration or verification status. And the third is organization must ensure equipment is protected from adjustments, damage, or deterioration that could affect measurement accuracy or invalidate results. If any equipment is found to be unfit for use, the organization must go back and reassess whether the previous measurement results may have been affected and take corrective actions as necessary. The sixth specific requirement under resource is organizational knowledge. To run effectively and deliver quality, your organization must identify the knowledge required to operate its process and meet the product or service requirements. Second, your organization must maintain that knowledge and ensure it is available when and where it is needed. And third, your organization must evaluate and update that knowledge continuously, especially in response to changes such as new technology, evolving customer needs, or market trends. For example, a company should update the skills of staffs when new software is introduced. In general, organizational knowledge is a valuable know-how that your organization has developed over time. It's a kind of knowledge that helps you avoid mistakes, repeat success, and stay competitive. We can divide organizational knowledge based on their sources. The first one is internal sources, for example, lessons learned from past projects, either it may be success or failures. employee experience and expertise, process improvement and innovation, internal documentation such as process, procedure, manuals, etc. Intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, can be organizational knowledge found within the organization. The second is organizational knowledge obtained from external sources, such as industry standards, best practices, customer feedbacks, benchmarking with competitors, research from academia or conferences, guidance from consultant or partners are some of the organizational knowledge obtained from external sources. The key question here is why organizational knowledge matters. Without managing organizational knowledge, companies may encounter in losing critical expertise when employees leave, or even repeating the same mistakes over and over again. The second subclause is competence. To ensure quality performance, the organization must manage competence effectively. This means making sure that everyone doing work under organization's control is capable of doing it right. To ensure competency, the organization must first identify the competencies required for roles that affect the performance of the quality management system. Second, the organization must ensure that people are competent based on their education, training, or experience. Third, the organization must take action when competence gaps are identified. Actions may include training, mentoring, reassignment, or hiring qualified personnel. After every action's effectiveness must be evaluated or verified. The other is organization must maintain documented information or records as evidence that personnel are competent for the required role. For example, training certificate, performance evaluations, and curriculum VTs can be stored as evidence for competency. As a conclusion, competent people lead to consistent quality. Without the right skills in the right roles, even the best procedures cannot make your quality management system effective. The third subclause is awareness. The organization must ensure that everyone doing under its control understands how their role fits into the quality management system. This means employees should know why their job matters in achieving quality outcomes. They should understand how their role links to the overall quality management system processes. Awareness is actually not just about having information. It is about engagement, communication, and leadership support. Here, an important question is what must employees be aware of? The first one is the quality policy. Even though top management established quality policy, everyone in the organization should understand the quality policy. The second is employees must be aware of the relevant quality objectives, which are SMART objectives established based on the quality policy. And the third is employees have to be aware of their personal contribution to quality management system effectiveness, which means they have to know how does their work impact quality. In addition, employees have to know the consequence of non-conformance. That is, what happens when procedures are not followed. If procedures are not followed properly, customer complaints, rework, loss of trust may be encountered. When employees are aware of the quality policy, objectives, and their role and the impact of their actions on QMS, they can make better decisions, they can take ownership of quality, they can prevent errors before they happen, and ultimately they can enhance customer satisfaction. Awareness is not just about communicating information. It is ensuring that employees internalize the quality policy, objectives, and requirements and can demonstrate this awareness in their day-to-day activities. The fourth subclause is communication. To keep the quality management system effective, the organization must plan and manage how it communicates, both internally and externally. For proper communication, organization clearly determines the following issue in its communication plan. The first is what will be communicated. That is, the type or the content of information to be communicated. For example, the quality policy, objectives, procedures, performance reports, customer requirements, audit results. The second is when to communicate, that is time of communication or frequency of communication. In terms of frequency, it may be daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. And based on the timing, it may be after changes, before changes, or during incidents as required. The third is with whom to communicate, that is the audience to communicate. They might be internal stakeholders such as employees, departments, and top management, or external interested parties, for example, customers, suppliers, regulators, contractors, etc. And the fourth is how to communicate, that is method of communication channel. For example, emails, meetings, report, memo, dashboards can be some of the methods of communication channel. And the fifth is who communicates, the responsible person or function to communicate the message to internal and external stakeholders. In general, clear and timely communication ensures that everyone stays aligned with quality objectives, issues are addressed quickly or timely, responsibilities are understood, customers and stakeholders are informed. And the last subclause is documented information. The general requirement for documented information is your quality management system must include two main types of documented information. The first is required by ISO 9001 itself. This includes things like procedures, policies, and records that the standard specifically asks for. The second is any other documented information your organization decides is necessary to make the quality management system effective. Now let's move to extent of documentation. The extent or the amount of documentation you need is not the same for every organization. It depends on the following three things. The first one is size and activities. The larger the size of the organization usually needs more documentation to stay consistent. The second is process complexity. The more the complex the process, the more detailed the documentation must be. And the third is the competency level of the employees. If your staff are highly skilled, you may need less documentation. That is, if the competency is lower, more detailed procedures are necessary. In short, documented information should be enough to ensure effectiveness but not excessive. Write down what's needed to keep things clear, consistent, and effective. Nothing more, nothing less. The second requirement under documented information is creating and updating documented information. When creating or updating documents and records, we have to fulfill the following three important issues. The first one is clearly identify and describe each item by giving it a title, date, author, and reference number. The second is using a consistent format and media such as the language, software version, paper-based or electronic-based. And the third is all the documents shall be reviewed and approved to ensure it is suitable and adequate before use. In general, well-managed documentation helps everyone know what to do and how to do, ensure consistency across the organization, provide evidence that the processes are followed, maintain and improve the quality system efficiently. The third requirement under documented information is control of documented information. To keep your quality management system reliable and effective, all documented information must be properly controlled. The following are the key requirements for controlling the documented information. The first one is ensure that documented information is available and suitable for use where and when it is needed, and ensure that documented information is adequately protected from risks such as loss of confidentiality, improper use, or loss of integrity. The other requirement is, where applicable, control activities should include the following. The first is how documents are distributed, accessed, retrieved, and used. The second is proper storage and preservation, making sure documents remain legible over time. The third is control of changes, including version control to track revisions. And the fourth is retention and disposal. That is defining how long documents are kept and when or how they are securely disposed of. Let me add some additional important considerations. The first is external documented information. Any information obtained from external sources like supplier manuals or regulatory requirement is called external documented information. This must be properly identified and controlled to ensure that the correct version is used. Second, records that serve as evidence of conformity must be protected from unintended changes. This ensures their integrity and traceability during audits or reviews. Third, access control. You need to define who can only view documents and who has the authority to view and edit. This prevents unauthorized changes and ensures proper accountability. So remember, documented information is not just about creating files. It's about controlling documents, protecting records, and setting the right access permissions. With this, your QMS stays reliable, consistent, and audit ready. In other words, proper control of documentation ensures that everyone in the organization works with correct, up-to-date, and authorized information. This is the end of this lesson, and thank you for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get updates. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next lesson covering clause 8 of ISO 9001-2015.